Sanghelios, the homeworld of the Sangheli, planetary location of Sunaion, final stronghold of Julam Dharma's Covenant, and the centre of operations for the Swords of Sanghelios. But what do we know about Sanghelios? Let's take a look. Prior to being fully inhabited by the Sangheli, Sanghelios was visited at some time by the Foreigners. During the Foreigner Flood War, the librarian visited Sanghelios to retrieve specimens of the Sangheli for preservation on the Ark. This was done so the Sangheli race could survive the firing of the Halo Array, which, during the Foreigner Flood War, was fired to stop the spread of the Flood. After the war, the Sangheli were reseeded on Sanghelios, where they evolved into the lovable Sangheli we know today. As the Sangheli evolved and discovered the Foreigner artifacts, they found deep admiration in them and began worshipping the Foreigners as gods. This led to tampering with the artifacts being declared as heresy. The Sanghelios Sangheli ultimately evolved to become a spacefaring race, colonising multiple other planets. In 938 BCE, the Sangheli ran into the reformist Sanshayum, who also worshipped the Foreigners as gods, sparking a war between them due to their differences in how they treated the Foreigner relics. Initially, the Sangheli were successful in hiding the location of Sanghelios. However, the Sanshayum's air superiority due to their possession of the Foreigner dreadnought allowed them to push the Sangheli back to Sanghelios. The Sanshayum used the dreadnought to devastate Sangheli forces planetside. Ultimately, the Sangheli learned of the Sanshayum's belief in the Great Journey, and they too began to believe that if they fired the Halo Array, they would ascend to become gods, just like the Foreigners did. Due to this belief, combined with the fact that the reason for the war was becoming devoid and obsolete, the Sangheli and Sanshayum united and formed an alliance, as to avoid mutual extinction. The Writ of Union was signed in 852 BCE, declaring peace between the two races, and causing the formation of the Covenant, with one goal: completing the Great Journey. As you'd expect, many Sangheli were severely opposed to this alliance, and decided to rebel on Sanghelios. One of the most notable Sangheli opposed to the Writ of Union was Ulsa Zealous, who took part in many skirmishes on Sanghelios, leading to the damage and, even in some cases, destruction of foreign artifacts. The newly formed Covenant responded to this rebellion by destroying the entire state of Zealous, laying waste to its keeps, and killing hundreds of Sangheli. Usa and his clan were forced to flee to the southern region of Navari on Sanghelios, and were forced to plan counterattacks on the Covenant. However, they were forced to continue to flee to the Refuge, a Foreigner shield world used as refuge from the Flood. Here, he started his own Sangheli race, known as the Ulsans. Eventually, after a lot of time, the Ulsans moved peacefully back to Sanghelios. Over 3,000 years later, the Human Covenant War began. Many Sangheli warriors from Sanghelios joined the Covenant's campaign against the humans. Sangheli manufacturers on Sanghelios also provided weaponry and vehicles for the Covenant to use. After the war, Thelvadam returned to Sanghelios, along with most of the Sangheli who served in the Covenant. Most of the Sangheli considered Thel as the leader of the Sangheli who abandoned the Covenant. As the pseudo-leader of the Sangheli, Thel planned to visit every single state to make his case for permanent peace with the humans. However, many Sangheli didn't approve of this, due to how long the two races had been at war and how many Sangheli the humans had killed. By January 2553, there were many varying views between the different Sangheli factions, especially from those who still believed in the Foreigner's divinity. One of the main Sangheli factions that still retained these pre-Covenant beliefs was the Servants of Abiding Truth, who viewed Thel as a traitor who was actively trying to betray their faith. In March 2553, most of the northern hemisphere of Sanghelios was engulfed in a civil war between the Servants of Abiding Truth and the Arbiter's Swords of Sanghelios. Come 2558, the Swords of Sanghelios were mostly victorious and were in firm control of Sanghelios. In the October of 2558, Sanghelios was once again engulfed in war, as Julam Dharma's Covenant faction assaulted Sanghelios. The faction took up a last stand at Sunaion, a Sangheli city built above one of Sanghelios' many saline oceans, and the Swords of Sanghelios joined forces with Fireteam Osiris to destroy the remnants of the faction. During the battle against Jul's faction, a Guardian showed up, and with it, the Warden Eternal. Sanghelios is located on the innermost edge of the Earth system's habitable zone and has 2 moons, Kikost and Suban. The planet itself has a gravity of 1.375 Gs and an average surface temperature of between -5 degrees centigrade and 96 degrees centigrade, so it varies quite a lot. It's similar in both shape and proportion to Earth, though its continents are more scattered. The sky colour varies from a bright yellow to blood red, and its atmosphere has a red hue to it. The saline oceans are also tinted red. Notice the colour pattern emerging? The violent winds from the southern poles spread across the southern regions of the planet, making it a harsh environment. Thanks for watching guys, I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video, which will be sometime early this week, when I'll be receiving a very special package from Sanghelios itself. And as always, stay hidden.